Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of GodSaw's Turnbuckle, the wrestling video podcast I run over here on youtube.com/GodSaw. It is been a while since I've done a traditional episode, and this episode won't even really be that traditional to go along with it. As some people have known, I've had a little bit of a computer problem over the last, I'll say, month or so, and I'm still kind of working out some of the issues with that. And it's definitely been a hamper on doing some of the content that I've been doing on the channel, which means also other things that usually go up over here, such as gameplay and the GodSaw's Turnbuckle episodes. We did get a full episode out, which was of WrestleMania. There are basically my WrestleMania 35 review, which I ended up thoroughly enjoying the show. I will be talking about the other two particular shows I watched over this last week to go along with that, which was NXT Takeover and then the G1 Supercard in the terms of the main shows that I did watch over that weekend. I do have my own thoughts and opinions on those to go along with it. So, and we will talk slightly a little bit about Raw and SmackDown. There's not really much to talk about. It's going to be more about the news and talking about NXT Takeover and the G1 Supercard, which I know going into this video is going to be an interesting one to talk about, especially with NXT Takeover. I have been seeing a lot of reports from people who, to be honest, dub it as one of the best shows that they've seen WWE put on. And, you know, in all fairness, in-ring action-wise, I thought it was a really good show. But also, oddly enough, for me personally, I dub this as not one of my favorite NXT takeovers. Where a lot of people are dubbing this like as one of the best shows that they've ever done. I don't even know if I put it into my top 10 shows that I've seen WWE do to go on that particular side. And my opinion is probably going to be different from a lot of other people's on this one to go along with it. I'm not saying that the show was bad by any stretch of the imagination. I still thought it was a really good show, but there was a couple of things in the particulars of the show that left me kind of more meh about the show than necessarily a glowing review about the particular show itself that I saw with NXT Takeover New York. So we'll go ahead and start it right off the bat here. I'll say the first match was absolutely fantastic. I thought the match with Hanson and Rowe, the War Raiders going up against Aleister Black and Ricochet for the NXT Tag Team titles, I thought that was a fantastic style match. The storytelling that they were throwing in there from the beginning to the end of the match itself, I thought was really well done in there. They even made a little tease to a count out, which was a tease from the Monday Night Raw match with the Revival into this particular match. I thought they did a really good job. I'm not going to go blow by blow on this particular one. We're going to kind of go through these rather quick. But overall, a thoroughly enjoyable match. A fantastic opener to go along with it. There's no complaints I have here. Of course, the War Raiders going over. Aleister Black and Ricochet kind of bow out of NXT that way. So with that being said, like I said, I thought it was really well done. This is where this is the portion of the show that I actually enjoyed the most. I enjoyed the opener, and I actually enjoyed the women's title match a little bit more than most of the other portions of the show. Now, again, like I said, there are going to with these particular ones, it's up in the air on how a lot of people feel. I know there's been conflicting, not reports, but opinions about all the matches here. I'm going to go ahead and say the next match was actually very good in the terms of its in-ring content and everything. There's just one thing about the match itself, and it's kind of It's kind of more towards a character trait that's been going on, and I think it's going a little bit too far with what they're going with. So it was Velveteen Dream going up against Matt Riddle. I thought, again, this was a very good match with its in-ring content and what they were doing throughout the entire thing. So where do I have a big issue with this? And this is not an issue of the in-ring content or the in-ring storytelling that they're going with. It is an aspect of the character with Velveteen Dream. On this one, I find Velveteen Dream to be a fantastic character. He's a great in-ring performer, everything to go along with that. When you watch him on NXT TV, he feels to be his own decisive character. He came out this time looking great, kind of doing almost a Macho King style entrance with with being carried to the ring, but he also looked like the Statue of Liberty. I thought that came off really good. But the thing that I kind of started seeing mostly through this match that kind of started annoying me, like I said, when you watch him on NXT TV, he feels like a decisive, his own style of character. When you see him on NXT takeovers, he's doing his own stuff, but he's also becoming very reference heavy. And that is, he's almost becoming like a nostalgia reference, with him being not necessarily needing that on that one. So what do we see throughout this particular match? You saw the Macho Man off the top rope sledgehammer, which was kind of which of course was a reference to that. Of course, him doing the Ravishing Rick Rude stuff that he traditionally does, but also even hulking up in the match as well, and even to the point, not necessarily doing a full reference to Jericho on this one, but he does pull out a code breaker in there, which in the terms of moves, go ahead and use moves to go along with it. But when it comes down to what I was seeing in this match that I thought was extremely good in ring, I was seeing a lot of just references. And it's like Velveteen Dream, Patrick Clark, was like, I'm going to make a reference to this character, and now this character, and then this character, instead of just basically referencing his own character. And that was what kind of turned me off on the match. I think it was an absolute right choice to have Velveteen Dream go over in this match and pick up the victory over Matt Riddle as well. The German suplex with Matt Riddle standing on the second rope and then German suplexing Velveteen Dream back into the ring, I thought was an absolutely sick bump. Not the craziest one we saw the weekend. I'll talk about that in the G1 Supercard with that. But I think it was still an absolute right choice having Velveteen Dream go over. Because honestly, I want to see these guys have some more matches. Now, personally, on my end, I would love to see at the NXT Takeover shows, maybe Velveteen Dream doing a little bit of a less reference of other characters. Like I said, we got like 3 different references to other characters in this particular match, in some way, shape, or form, with him hulking up, doing the punches, the big boot. He didn't do the leg drop, but he did do a body slam afterwards. Him kind of referencing the Macho Man with his entrance to its own degree, and also using the double sledge off the top rope, and of course his ravishing Rick Rude stuff as well. It seems weird, but when I watch him on NXT TV, he feels like he is his own decisive character who's absolutely fantastic in the ring. But when it comes to takeover matches, it feels like he's out there to try to pop the crowd with some kind of reference to something in the past, and he doesn't need it. He really doesn't. And it left me kind of meh about this match in the end. It's a little bit of a nitpick thing, but it was to the point that I was like, it was kind of taking me out of the match to go along with that. And I will even say that about Walter versus Pete Dunne as well. Now, granted, Walter going over Pete Dunne and picking up the WWE United Kingdom Championship is the absolute right move, because Pete Dunne has had that belt for God knows how long. I think in the end it was not 800, but 685 days. And he's basically done everything he can with that. It's time for him to move on. So him dropping the belt to Walter is a absolute right choice with this one. Now, here's the thing about watching it live. I did not get into this match in any way, shape, or form. I don't know if it was the whole aspect, because the whole aspect of the Walter thing with the chops, and then Pete Dunne with the whole joint manipulation with the fingers and everything that go along with that, seems like it would be an interesting story to go through a match, but it really didn't. I didn't really get fully into it. Even to the point, I'm going to go ahead and say this when I was watching it live, I started falling asleep during this match, even to the point of probably missing a couple of minutes of the match because I did kind of fall asleep inside there. I did see the ending portion of the match, the spot with Pete Dunne doing the double stomp off the top rope to the outside onto Walter was sick looking. The powerbomb off the top rope that led to the finish of the match from Walter, I thought was really good as well. But in the terms of them telling a story in this match, I just could not get into it. And again, like I said, I even fell asleep at certain portions in this match as well. So it comes off as one of those things that's like, I'm sure, because I had to go back and rewatch it again. The in-ring action, again, was good, but it was, again, the story itself that just did not get me into it in any way, shape, or form. So this leads us to that fatal four-way, which was Shayna Baszler, Io Shirai, Kairi Sane, and Bianca Belair. I thought this was a very good match. This was definitely one of the faster-paced matches of the night. Their intertwining stories throughout the match itself, I thought were really good as well, especially with Kairi Sane and Io Shirai, where it was like they were working together for a good portion of the match, and then when it came down to it again, and you kind of grasp the emotion from both of them in the match that they didn't want to necessarily intrude on their friend's attempt, but they had to in order to get the victory. And you can tell that they didn't want to fight each other, but they had to do it to try to get the victory. And you got that inside of that match, even leading to the point that it almost cost both of them, because they each did eat the finisher from Bianca Belair, which made you think that she was about to win. But Shayna Baszler comes up in the end and puts on the Karafuna clutch and makes Bianca Belair tap out in this match. Again, I thought this was very good. I actually enjoyed this one a lot. And again, like in-ring action-wise, I thought this was all very good. Very good matches in the show. So this leads us to Johnny Gargano versus Adam Cole for the NXT title. People are saying this is the best WWE match ever. I've had a week to think about this, because I am filming this on a Sunday. Again, that's other people's opinions. Mine's going to differ on this one. I massively differ on this one. I did not really... I enjoyed certain aspects of this match, but I did not enjoy most of this match. I thought the in-ring action was extremely good as well, like with the other matches as well. All the in-ring action was really good. But the story that they told in here was basically, I felt like it was the story that was supposed to be told if it was Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa, minus the factor of the Undisputed Era, interfering towards the end of the third fall. Now, Johnny Gargano going down 0-1, that's probably a good choice. And then having to get have to come back to get the second fall and the third fall, I thought that was a good choice. My biggest gripes about this one, and I had to rewatch this again because it felt very weird, especially during the first fall. The first fall itself felt like they were kind of going through motions, and you could tell that they were moving extremely slow to make sure not to mess anything up. Maybe not necessarily mess anything up, but it just felt very super choreographed. It didn't have a natural feel and a natural speed to it, or a speed that we're usually used to seeing with an Adam Cole or Johnny Gargano match. The fall, and you can even see that in the ending sequence. It's just like they're preparing themselves for the next portion before going, and they're not even going necessarily at their best at that point in time. At least that's how it felt like. It came off very slow. And it goes down with the Adam Cole hitting the last shot on Johnny Gargano. Okay, he goes up 1-0. The second fall I thought was really good. I thought they were kicking on all cylinders in this one. I love the ending of the fall as well. Johnny Gargano finally locks in the Gargano escape, and the Gargano escape is submission, and Adam Cole taps out immediately. Good psychology. I love this. The second fall was definitely the best portion of this match to me. The third fall, again, I have that issue of, and maybe if this was Tommaso Ciampa and Johnny Gargano, the aspect of Gargano kicking out so many times out of everything in the third fall, the fairy tale ending off on the table that doesn't break, the kicking out of the high-low finisher from Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly when they come out and interfere, dispatching of the Undisputed Era within about a minute and a half after he's been in a match for about 33 minutes at that point in time, and the also kicking out of the 2 super kicks into the last shot. It was a little much, and it went a little, it was like at that point of, and you've taken me out of it with how much it was that you kicked out of and everything to go along with it, type of thing. Now, again, if this was, maybe if they were able to do Johnny Gargano versus Tommaso Ciampa, and Tommaso doesn't unfortunately get, have the neck injury and has to go out before the match happens, I might even think that him kicking out of so much would have made sense. In this sense, since it was Adam Cole in the terms of their story, it didn't make a lot of sense for how much he was kicking out of stuff. And yeah, I did not enjoy this match as much as other people did. I say it over and over again, the in-ring action was really good, but the certain aspects of the stories that they were going with on this show, I was taken out of it in many aspects, and I thought maybe I would lessen my stance on it over the week and everything to go along with that, but it does not seem to really be the case on that one. NXT Takeover New York, I thought again was a very good show. In the terms of in-ring product, NXT never disappoints. I thought some of the stories that they were telling in some of these matches left a lot to be desired, to be honest. So with that being said, again, very good NXT. I won't say I was disappointed, but I was left in a more of a state of meh than I was overly joyed and excited about those matches. So let's talk about the G1 Supercard, which was a very interesting style of show to go along with that as well. I thought it was a very good show to its own degree. I felt like some of the stuff that they had with the Ring of Honor stuff, which I'm not fully familiar with, came off as a little bit weirder. Hopefully, maybe I'll be able to get in touch with, or get to watch a little bit more Ring of Honor so I can make more sense of what was going on. But overall, I enjoyed the show. It was, again, another very long show. I think in the end, the G1 Supercard was somewhere, like the main show itself was somewhere around 4.5 hours. If you take the hour-long pre-show that had the Honor Rumble, the Ring of Honor Rumble in there, it was about 5.5, which Kenny King won the Ring of Honor Rumble. well, I kind of expected somebody from Ring of Honor to end up winning this particular one. I did not expect a New Japan star to pick up that match, because they do get a Ring of Honor title match with that one. Kenny King was an interesting choice. Also, the aspect of having the Great Muta come out in the match as well, I thought was absolutely great in this one. The tease at the end I thought was pretty good. You're teasing Jushin Thunder Liger and Great Muta as the last two, and then Kenny King just runs in and eliminates both of them. That was a good way. It was a good way of getting heel heat on there. Onto him, and I thought it came off pretty decently. Up next was the first of two winner-take-all style matches, which was Jeff Cobb going up against Will Ospreay. It was the Ring of Honor television title going up against New Japan Pro Wrestling's the IWGP Never Openweight title. And again, this was about 13-minute match that I thought came off really, really good. I thought this came off as a fun match, very good match from both sides of them. Jeff Cobb picking up the victory and taking both the Ring of Honor television and Never Openweight titles. Which I think a lot of people kind of saw that one coming, because they don't see Will Ospreay doing too much Ring of Honor, where Jeff Cobb does do a little bit more of New Japan. So it kind of makes a little bit more sense for him to have both of those belts. Up next, you had Roosh going up against Dalton Castle. So you had this whole bit where Dalton Castle had a massive entrance, everything to go along with it, but then for the Dalton Castle character, he has what he calls his boys that follow him to the ring. They were part of this. They did the whole step up into the ring where he doesn't actually walk up the steps. I like that whole aspect of the character, but one of the boys leaves their feather fans inside of the ring before the match, and you see the referee is like, hey, you need to get that out of the ring, and he motions to one of the boys to get it out. He turns around, and when he turns around, Roosh, the bell rings quickly, and then Roosh does a shotgun drop kick to him into the corner, does it again, and does it one more time to pick up the victory in about 20 to 30 seconds. That was, it kind of made sense for the way that they're going about that. Also with the Dalton Castle turning on his boys after the match as well, kind of made sense to go along with it as well. That I followed Dalton Castle a little bit, and they have been playing it up. I did get to see him on one of the New Japan shows as well, where they've been talking about how he's been on a losing streak. This kind of continues that, and he's kind of broken and went to the he kind of broke and went and turned on his boys and beat them down after the match. Up next after this was the Women of Honor title, which was Kelly Klein going up against Mayu Iwatani. I'm sorry if I butchered that name, but I am bad with names. But this was an okay match. When it comes down to the women's divisions that I've watched in the past, WWE's is now up there. Impact's has always been up there with the Knockouts division. Now this is kind of a new thing for the for Ring of Honor. Their women's division is still a little bit lacking on this one. I thought this was only an okay match. Kelly Klein picks up the victory. She does do kind of a babyface style match with this one, where she had been heel beforehand. She got rid of her entourage, and they went straight one-on-one. In the match, they were doing a respect thing at the end, where the beautiful people, it was Velvet Sky and Angelina Love coming out. They came out to confront Kelly Klein. It looked like Mandy Leone was going to help out Kelly Klein, but she ends out attacking them and joining the beautiful people, which they are going under the new name of the Allure, where they have the A as like the anarchy symbol, and then the rest of the name Allure to go along with it. That was an interesting little point. The crowd was kind of dead during this match, dead during a couple of them as well, and it just came off as It came off as kind of ho-hum, and you know what? I hope Ring of Honor continues on with the women's division because they can probably build something out of this, but they need to take some extra time to do that as well. It's still a little bit lacking, but hopefully they can build it up throughout the entire time. Up next was the street fight, which was the open challenge street fight of Bully Ray, which it was originally going to be done by Juice Robinson, but he had gotten attacked in the backstage area. So who ends up answering the challenge? It ends up being Flip Gordon returning. The crowd does give a good pop to this one. Eventually, Shane Taylor and Silas Young come out to attack Flip Gordon, which does bring out Mark Haskins and Juice Robinson, which Juice kind of... He got better. He got better really quick, and they came out and joined him. They became a 6-man tag match, which was a New York City street fight. A lot of your typical hardcore stuff happening in this match. Eventually, with Silas Young and Shane Taylor getting taken out, leaving Bully Ray with them three, and then all three of them finish off Bully Ray to pick up the victory. So Juice Robinson, Flip Gordon, and Mark Haskins pick up the victory there. Not a bad match. If you love the hardcore stuff, I think that's a very good one. I thought this was a very good style of street fight. I thought they came off with it pretty good, but it was also very typical to go along with it. Up next, you had Dragon Lee going up against Taiji Ishimori and Bandito. They were in a triple threat match for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title. This match was at breakneck speed the entire time, and eventually leading to Dragon Lee picking up the victory over Bandito after it looked like Taiji Ishimori was going to pick up the victory over Bandito, but he gets rid of him, and then Dragon Lee picked up the victory. I thought this was a very enjoyable match. Yeah, that was a very enjoyable one. Up next, you had the Guerrillas of Destiny going up against Villain Enterprises, which was PCO and Brody King, going up against Evil and Sonata, and going up against the Briscoes. It was a fatal 4-way, winner-take-all for the IWGP Tag Team titles and the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles. And this match was absolutely crazy. It was very fast-paced, and they got a lot in for the 10 minutes that they had on this one. This also includes the sickest bump of the weekend and the scariest bump of the weekend. So PCO, or Pierre, if you remember him from when he was part of WWE, took a double powerbomb. Now, indicate this. He took a double powerbomb from inside the ring to outside the ring. No one catching him, by the way. And landing on, at least it was the padding, but that doesn't make it any less sick. We'll leave it at that. He landed directly on the padding from the ring itself, from the Guerrillas of Destiny, Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. It was absolutely insane. And it's something that you don't want to really see people ever really take, but they ended out doing it in this one. The craziest bit on this one was that PCO sat up like he was going to no-sell it, and then he falls back to the ground. It's like, yeah, no, that hurt a lot. And yeah, it came off as absolutely insane. The Guerrillas of Destiny did eventually pick up the victory over Brody King, and they won the IWGP Tag Team titles and the Ring of Honor Tag Team titles. This leads to the ending of the match, which was, well, very interesting, because on camera what you ended up seeing was Yano coming up. When they were going to give the Guerrillas of Destiny both tag team titles, they only got the Ring of Honor titles, because guess who took the IWGP tag team titles and quote unquote stole them in this case? It was Yano. So they're going to probably be doing something with that over in New Japan, where Yano is going to either be getting a tag team partner or getting tag teams to try to get those titles off of the Guerrillas of Destiny. But the other thing that happened off camera, which ended up being a massive work, by the way, but they kind of made it, they filmed it they did it in a way that made it seem like it was more shoot. But guess who showed up and jumped the barricade and started attacking the Briscoes, and eventually Bully Ray came out. It was Enzo and Cass. And Enzo and Cass ended out brawling with both the Briscoes and Bully Ray. There was a lot of commotion going around and everything to go along with it. It took them maybe a brief moment to realize that it was like, oh, it wasn't just crowd jumping in there. It was an actual, just a work thing, because the security was doing absolutely nothing to stop it. So it was what it was on that one. Not going to talk too much about that. Yes, it looks like that. I don't think they have actual contracts yet, but it looks like potentially Enzo and Cass are going to be showing up in Ring of Honor at some point in time, which will be an interesting one because, well, they aren't typical Ring of Honor stars, though they are big stars in the terms of everything, and it is more right for it is like more interesting with both of them together, and they were going to do more wrestling versus them being separate on there as well. It'll be left to be said whether or not Ring of Honor actually brings them in to go along with it. But yeah, it ended out being oh, sorry. But it ended up being an interesting little snippet of it. But it ended up being, like, some people was like, oh, is this a shoot? No, it's not a shoot. It was pretty much a work. This brought us to Zack Sabre Jr. going up against Hiroshi Tanahashi. And this was for the British Heavyweight title, the Rev Pro title. This was a very good match. Extremely enjoyable. I did thoroughly enjoy the work that Tanahashi and Zack Sabre Jr. did in this match, with Zack Sabre Jr. picking up the victory with submission as well over Tanahashi to keep the title. Again, I thought this was thoroughly enjoyable. They do keep a very good pace in their matches, and it happened here as well. Up next, you had Kota Ibushi going up against Tatsuya Naito for the IWGP Intercontinental title. Again, probably best match on the show, honestly. And Kota Ibushi picks up the victory and gets the IWGP Intercontinental title as well. Like I said, I thought this was thoroughly enjoyable. These matches are a little bit harder because both of these guys like to do spots where it looks like you're just dropping the other person on their neck, which it kind of came off like here as well. But overall, enjoyable, very enjoyable match. Probably the best match I watched on the show. Up next was the triple threat match for the Ring of Honor title, which was Jay Lethal going up against Matt Taven and Marty Scurll. Honestly, I enjoyed this match. I thought this was a very good ladder match. Now, granted, I'm not as in touch with well, I won't say New Japan. I'm not as in touch with New Japan either, but I'm not as in touch with Ring of Honor as I am with some of the other ones. So it like with the way that they were building this up, it made sense for Jay Lethal to lose the title. But a lot of people are giving a lot of bit of gripe for it being Matt Taven. I haven't watched a lot of Matt Taven stuff, so I don't necessarily know how good he is. Marty Scurll I know is really good, but you would assume he wouldn't pick up that title based upon there being a lot of reports, even though he still has a little bit of time left on his Ring of Honor contract, that he will more than likely not be with Ring of Honor once that contract is up. I thought this was an extremely enjoyable match. Very good ladder match. Maybe that will change based upon the aspect of maybe watching some more Matt Taven stuff or anything down the line. But overall, the aspect of Matt Taven picking up the Ring of Honor title, I thought it wasn't necessarily a bad thing here. Based off the story that they kind of gave us that you could tell on the show, it made sense for Jay Lethal to lose here. But a lot of people have a lot of bit of gripe about it being Matt Taven, so we'll see how it ends up playing out in the end. Up next was the main event of the night, which was Jay White going up against Kazuchika, I can never say that name properly, going up against Okada for the IWGP Heavyweight title. This was a proper main event of this show. Definitely the biggest match on this show. in the terms of scope and everything. I probably did not enjoy this one as much as Naito and Ibushi, but it was an extremely good match. Kind of what you usually get with Okada matches. Very long, drawn out. I won't say drawn out, but very long and very story oriented about the match itself, and that is what you kind of got here. You got this whole aspect of Okada not really being able to beat Jay White. He wasn't able to beat him in the G1 tournament. And then he wasn't able to beat him at Wrestle Kingdom. This time around, he ends out winning the match, and he ends out picking up the IWGP Heavyweight title, based off of a couple of extra things here, because what was it? Jay White does hit the Blade Runner in this match, which had put Okada away in the other matches. But this time around, Jay White was not able to capitalize off the fact that he hit the Blade Runner, which ended up costing him in the end. He ends out eating a Rainmaker, a Tombstone, and another Rainmaker to lose the match and drop the IWGP Heavyweight title, which they put a nice little story point in there that that this is the first time since 1993 that you had two champions go without a successful defense. Back-to-back champions. So Tanahashi loses to Jay White, and then White loses to Okada in this one. So you have back-to-back matches or back-to-back defenses where they cannot successfully defend the title. And that was a nice little story bit that they threw in there that most people might not have known. And a good little piece of history for it as well. That's been the first time since I believe they said it was 93. Since that happened. Overall, I enjoyed the G1 Supercard. There was a couple of little snippets in there that just kind of felt weird and off, and I will be honest, I was also probably a little bit distracted from some other people who were probably watching the show as well, once they heard about Bret Hart getting attacked as well. I did talk about that in my WrestleMania review, so if you wanted to hear about that, that's over there to go along with it. But overall, I enjoyed the show. I did enjoy both NXT Takeover and the G1 Supercard, but honestly, I probably enjoyed WrestleMania more. This is one of the few times that I'll go off and say that as well. Usually when it comes to WWE shows, their big shows, SummerSlam and Survivor Series and Money in the Bank, WrestleMania and Royal Rumble, when they have an NXT Takeover that goes along with it, I usually enjoy the NXT show more than I do the main show. But this time around, I actually enjoyed the main show more than I enjoyed the quote-unquote developmental brand. So that's one of those few times that is the case, but I know a lot of other people have differing opinions on that one. But this time I kind of differ, and I enjoyed the main show of the weekend more than I did the other shows. With that. But speaking more on WrestleMania side, guess what? We do have a lot of injuries that came out of WrestleMania weekend. Tanahashi himself apparently had an elbow injury. Not sure if it happened during the match or if it was something that he came into or it came before the match and he just worked through it. But apparently he had an elbow injury, maybe out for a little bit, maybe not for too terribly long. Outside of coming out of WrestleMania, we had a couple of extra injuries that came about with everything. Some that happened during WrestleMania, some that happened outside of WrestleMania, or some that, or one of them that even happened a long time ago, and they're finally getting everything recovered with it. We'll go ahead and start with Big E here. Now, great, he did two splits, full splits on Raw and SmackDown. That did not cause the torn meniscus, but apparently it happened during the six-man tag in on SmackDown when it was the New Day going up against Drew McIntyre and The Bar on that one. So Big E's going to be out for what it seems to be about maybe 6 to 8 weeks, with getting surgery on a torn meniscus. AJ Styles got a hip injury while taking a superplex during his match at WrestleMania, which he released on his Mixer when he was doing a stream of Mixer while playing PUBG. He released as like, yeah, this kind of happened during the match. We're treating it like a sprain right now. Hopefully it just kind of goes away type thing. But that's a little bit of an interesting point. So he's going to be out for a little bit. Then it was reported throughout the week as well that Daniel Bryan was injured going into the match. Hopefully it wasn't a concussion, because they're not necessarily saying what his injury was, but they said he came out kind of injured out of the match with Kofi Kingston at WrestleMania. Hopefully it's not a concussion, because we know his history with that, and hopefully it's not that case. The other one, and this one's going to be out for a lot longer, ends up being Nia Jax. So apparently she's been working with some ACL issues, if not tears in her ACLs, over the last year. And she is finally getting surgery for for injuries to her ACL in both knees. So she's going to be out for a while. Generally, that is going to be about a 9-month recovery for one of them. I don't know if they're repairing both of them at the same time, or they're doing one and then the other, which would probably technically put her out for, could be 18 months if they do it that way. But she is going to definitely be out for quite a bit of time, because she is getting surgery done on both of those knees. And yeah, that's not a good one there. I know a lot of people kind of throw it out there. It's like, oh, she's injured a lot of other people and everything to go along with that. But you don't want anybody to actually have to go out with an injury on that one. So hopefully Nia is able to recover quickly as well. As same for everybody here. Hopefully they recover quickly and they're just going to be back on the show here rather quick to go along with it. So this brings us to the interesting point of the week, which was originally reported by Fightful, and there was a couple of other reports that go along with this, because there was a lot to this particular one. Apparently, Sasha Banks attempted to quit after WrestleMania 35, based off of everything that was going on. So it was reported that she was thoroughly unhappy about the whole aspect of dropping the titles at WrestleMania 35 to, well, maybe not just necessarily to the Iconics, but was given initially an indication, and then it was a last minute change where they decided to put the titles on Iconics that night. But given the indication that those tag team title runs, they were going to try to be the ones that, establish those titles, and they're going to have a long run with them, but it ends out not necessarily being the case. And this probably leads to the aspect of her being frustrated with her booking in the company for quite some time. This was just another aspect to that, to go along with it, which we've been getting a lot of reports that people have been extremely frustrated with their booking, based off of what we've seen. We saw Austin Aries kind of walk out, Neville walking out, recently. Dean Ambrose doesn't re-sign his contract. It looks like the club's going to be leaving here very soon. A lot of people who are extremely frustrated with their particular ones, in particular points on the in their booking on the card itself. Sasha's kind of one of those, and we've kind of heard that in interviews in the past, that she's extremely frustrated within the company in the terms of the booking. And it kind of boiled to a head where it was reported that she attempted to quit, and she was given a couple of weeks to think over the decision, everything to go along with that. Now, granted, she's not going to be going anywhere for a while, because it was reported, I think, last year that she signed a new multi-year contract, and I don't see them just releasing her anytime soon. to go along with that. If she ends up not coming back within the company, more than likely they will probably just keep her at home and not release her from the contract. But it also came to fruition that that Bayley's also frustrated within the company, which, based off of how they've had her booked, you wouldn't be shocked on that particular one either. She, no, don't get it wrong, she does go out there and she does the job and whatever, to go along with it. But it wouldn't be shocking if they were, she was reportedly frustrated as well with the particular booking of her character on the show. But the interesting report that came out, and this one is the one that is very hard to believe. It was originally put out there by Ryan Satin to go along with that. And the report is that after the match, or at or like sometime within the show itself at WrestleMania, apparently both Sasha Banks and Bayley were lying down in protest in the women's locker room, based off of the match itself. Which is an interesting report, because he said his sources, he had 4 people who came up to him without any knowledge or without him approaching them. They approached him with reports of this one, which is an interesting aspect that would be the case based upon and then like them voicing their frustrations as well as laying down in protest about the whole match as a whole, and like loudly voicing their frustrations in the women's locker room. But not only doing that, but doing it in front of one of the hotel rooms as well. That's an interesting report to even want to believe, or I won't say want to believe, but an interesting point or an interesting report to even believe at the time. And it's very hard to believe that one based around the pictures that went out throughout the entire week. That's not just on like their Twitter or anything to go along with that, but also on WWE.com. That makes it an indication as like, did they really do something like that? Because, you know, they were showing themselves at least supportive of everyone else inside of the arena. They do have a picture with the Iconics, kind of congratulating after the match. There was a picture of them getting posted with both Sasha and Bayley next to them. And then you also had a picture that was released through WWE.com where they did a lot of those behind the scenes ones at the major shows. They have Bayley congratulating Kofi, which would seem right after Kofi won the WWE title. They also showed them in a very happy, there was also a picture released where they were very happy while watching the main event of WrestleMania. Now, don't get me wrong. Like I said, I'm not saying that they're not like angry with their booking or anything to go along with that. They're probably extremely frustrated with that, but based upon what we also saw afterwards, with those other pictures and everything to go along with that those pictures of them, like if they were truthfully like throwing quote unquote tantrums in the women's locker room, we would not be seeing pictures like that in any way, shape, or form being taken. So it makes it very hard to believe that that would be the case. Also, with the aspect of either one of those, they could be extremely frustrated with their booking and the booking committee or anything to go along with that. But like, what would it mean to their peers if they were doing something like that on that one? So it's very hard to believe on those ones with those particular reports. I don't necessarily believe that initial report until more of the maybe the superstars say something about that, but I doubt they'll be saying anything as well to go along with it. It'll be interesting to note whether or not we do end up seeing Sasha Banks again after the next couple of weeks, or whenever she does decide to come back, or if she does decide to come back on that one. But it does seem like they're giving her some time to kind of think things over before going through a full decision or anything on that particular one. as you probably saw on Monday Night Raw, Bayley was there by herself, no Sasha. She had that match with Alexa Bliss, which was a rather quick match as well. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that one goes about with everything. So yeah, we'll see how that one goes with that one. So I'm not necessarily gonna go blow by blow on Monday Night Raw or SmackDown this week, because with the Superstar shakeup coming up next week and everything, it's going to be an interesting one with those particular shows. But it came off as another interesting thing with Raw and SmackDown this week. And the only way that I can attribute both Raw and SmackDown this week, people play it up as like spinning their wheels. I look at it as one of those filler episodes. So when you watch a TV show, they have those episodes throughout the season or through whole seasons if you watch certain other shows, where it seems like nothing's actually happening. Like, and to the point, it's like, what portions of each thing do you want to take for further down the line to go along with it? And both Raw and SmackDown felt like filler episodes this week. Which means when you see a filler episode, guess what? Weird stuff's gonna happen. So that's why they're playing up the whole Superstar shakeup thing. So you did see a couple Raw and SmackDown people on Raw and SmackDown. The Bar showed up to on Raw. So did the New Day, which that ended out ending badly. You had Kofi and Seth teasing a unification match between the Universal title and the WWE title, which gets interrupted by the Bar. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't think there's anybody that truthfully expected that that there was going to be a unification of the titles that night, but it was going to be how they go about it. They end up having the Bar be the one that interrupts, and then they go into pretty much a house show tag team match afterwards. So that didn't go over well. We'll leave it on that one. You had Braun show up on SmackDown, as well as Drew McIntyre. Like I said, it felt like an extremely filler episode. It's like a lot of this isn't going to be canon in any way, shape, or form. The main things that were probably canon out of this one was the whole aspect of the Hardys winning the tag team titles over the Usos on SmackDown. That's going to pretty much be that, and maybe it leads to the Usos going to SmackDown, or not to SmackDown, but to Raw afterwards on that one as well. So it will be interesting to see what they do with the Superstar shakeup. We'll talk about that a little bit more with next week's episode. I'm running a little bit longer than I was kind of expecting on this one, but I felt like we got through most of what we needed to get through throughout this week on the show. And everything. So with that being said, I'm going to kind of end it there, because like I said, I wasn't going to go blow by blow on Raw and SmackDown, because they were just filler episodes to the Superstar shakeup for the next week, which yes meant we weren't going to be getting a lot of debuts or anything on that one. We did get Lars Sullivan coming out and destroying the Hardys after they won the tag titles on SmackDown, and also destroying Kurt Angle after he disposed of Baron Corbin on Raw. Lacey Evans seems to be the next feud for Becky Lynch at this point in time, where she did her strut down the ring on Raw and punches Becky Lynch in the face. They end up brawling. On SmackDown, Becky Lynch cut her promo. As she had her back turned, Lacey Evans comes around and decks her with a right hand again. This one was, because it was from behind, staggered Becky Lynch a bit more, and she wasn't able to recover. So it looks like Lacey Evans is the next person for Becky Lynch at that point. But yeah, nothing else really happened. No other major debuts happened or anything on there. We'll see where the Superstar shakeup goes with everything. for this upcoming week on Monday and Tuesday. With that being said, that is everything I've got for this week on GodSaw's Turnbuckle. I will be looking to bring back everything for next week as well. Looks like my computer did get through the recording on this one. We're going to have to try bringing the stream back on this one, but I've got a few other tests to be running on this computer before we try to start streaming these live again over on the YouTube channel. But with that being said, peace out, take care, and have a great rest of your day.